Hello. How is everybody tonight? It's my co-host for the evening, Wes. You want to say hi to everybody?
Hello, everybody. It's good to be
And
here.
who's your friend with us?
He's just my sidekick.
Your
Who's
sidekick?
He helps me out sometimes. He's losing a little weight though. I gotta feed him a little
Yeah,
better.
he's getting a little shriveled there.
He was kind of
His
robust today
head's
earlier, but
fine
now
though.
he's
His
kind
head's
of
fine
losing it.
though. But so I wanted to say hi to Chris. I hope you're out there listening and we miss you and everybody's worried about you. So please let us know that you're okay. Okay, Chris. And I could really use the mod tonight. You do have your mod. You are a mod. So hopefully you can hear this and join in. We miss you. I wanted to say hi to Who's Your Cold Cases and Beholder and Monica and Chaotic Beauty and Crime, Daisy. Oh, wrong way. I don't can still hear my sound on my phone. It's weird. Hey, Georgia and Taffy. Hello. Hope you guys are doing well. Well, we have a lot tonight. I've been busy. Miss Chaotic Beauty and Crime shared her Canva with me. And so I have just been making videos. And we are going to start the night off by playing a tribute video to Shannon for her. This is the 21st year she was murdered, or she was taken and found murdered in August 16th of 2001. Sorry. And it is now 2022. So, and it is 21 years without justice. And we are hoping to just keep the story out there. And I was just listening to a podcast that we did, Wesley, and you had said that about, just keeping it in the forefront of everyone's mind. And you never know what someone may remember. And so tonight
Absolutely.
we plan on doing an in-depth one-stop shop a video of all of the information that we have gathered and that family and friends have helped us gather through the group. The groups are in the description and we will be posting those in the chat as well. But I just wanted to say thank you for all that you've done for Shannon's case and everyone that's helped. We couldn't do without you. We've got, I know Monica is constantly trying to bring attention back to Shannon, and it's getting weary. We had a vigil in 2019, wasn't it? And you had one in
20,
2020,
2020 and
2020,
2021.
and it was the 19 year. And then Wesley hosted a vigil for the 2021. And this year, this is what we're doing for in place of the vigil. And we're hoping to just really shine a light back on, get all of the Wesley's done a amazing Google Earth with all the pins of all the places and the paths that each intersection of just everything. It's really great. And I have made a couple videos with the help of Chaotic Beauty and Crime on her Canva. So I appreciate that a lot. And I am going to start by sharing the little tribute video I made for Shannon. It's about 4 minutes long. And so we're going to go ahead and do that real quick.
sweet little girl who was stolen from her family and taken from this world. She was just 11 years old, happy in every way. The joy she brought to us soul, I didn't have to win that day. Talking about Shannon, had a very short life. He was stolen from us so fast, we never got to say goodbye. Your family and your friends, they miss you every day. And the knock on your door, asking if you can come out and play. Oh, Shannon, your memory never goes away. I never thought something this bad ever happened here. It scares everyone in town. That's why they hold their children near. I know that she's with Jesus somewhere up above. All the pain she felt is gone now. She's being given so much love. So this is to the one who's caused all the pain. Why do you want to hurt our children? Is there something for you to gain? Talking about Shannon, had a very short life. He was stolen from us so fast, we never got to say goodbye. Your family and your friends who miss you every day, and would knock on your door, asking if you can come out and play. Shannon, your memory never goes away. Shannon, your memory never goes. Daddy, is Shannon with Jesus? Away.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome.
Put that together. My new Canva, I'm like obsessed with it now, making videos. So, that was a song written by Roger Lyles. He obviously wrote that for Shannon. He was a friend of the family and a local artist there in Prattville. So, yeah. And say hi to a couple more people. I see Truth and Justice. How are you? Thank you for being here. Grandma Sherry. Hello to you. I was about to say hello to Westmeister. Thank you, Hoosier Cold Cases. Yes, Linktree is a link that if you click on that link that Hoosier Cold Cases just put in the chat, you can find all the places that I am in one convenient place. And you can also find Shannon's podcasts. We did I think it's about, I have a whole playlist of Shannon. That's what came up on the screen. And I'm going to make that video public as soon as we get done here tonight. Oh, Kaleidoscope. That's great. Yes, we were worried about him. I'm very thirsty tonight. We're both having a little bit of trouble with our kidneys. So you have to bear with us a bit. But we're going to go ahead and get started. Are you ready for your Google share?
I'm going to give it a shot.
All right.
See if I can get it right this time. How's that? No?
Yep. We got it.
Awesome. Okay. Do you want to just kind of walk through this at this point, or is there anything you were going to go over first?
I'll go ahead and read just a kind of an intro.
Okay.
So Shannon Nicole Paulk, she was born on May 8th of 1990, and she was 11 years old at the time of her kidnapping. On August 16th of 2001, it was a hot summer day in Prattville, Alabama. That's the county of Autauga. She was kidnapped from her neighborhood in Candlestick Mobile Home Park. Her remains were discovered on October 6th of 2001 in a remote hunting preserve in Autauga County, Alabama. As is standard, the family was allowed to choose her date of death, and her estimated time of death is unknown at this time. However, from the information gathered thus far, it leads us to believe that she was murdered on or near the day of her kidnapping. Her case is still unsolved. The last 21 years have led to a few good suspects, said Prosecutor Randall Houston, yet no arrests have been made. And one of the tip lines is scrolling across the bottom of the screen there. And there are two more that I'm going to list real quick. The secret witness line for Prattville PD is 334-595-0259. And yeah, so, or you can do the email and the number for Tom Allen. He is the lead detective on this case. And that is scrolling across the bottom of your screen. And so now we kind of move into the timeline here. And I do want to get this timeline comes with a disclaimer. So I'm going to go ahead and read that. It is a joint effort made possible by Shannon's family, friends, and neighbors in the Justice for Shannon Paulk Facebook group, which can be found under group in the description of this video. The information may or may not be completely accurate and is subject to change based on new information. So, prior to August 16th of 2001, Shannon had just returned from a trip to Georgia, where she had stayed with family most of the summer. So it was about the week before she was taken. She had just returned from Georgia. And then the weekend before she disappeared, her family went shopping in Montgomery. They had a fun day shopping with nothing out of the normal to report. And Shannon's Aunt Jeanette bought her some items for the approaching school year, which she was super excited about being at Daniel Pratt. On August 16th of 2001, that was a Thursday, in Candlestick Mobile Home Park, Shannon lived at 1362 Expos Court in Prattville, Alabama, which I think Wesley has on his map. You'll be able to see that.
I may be a little off, but if so, I can correct those if someone lets me know.
I think you got it. And okay, so as far as the day, Shannon lived with her mother, Marie, her sister, Lisa, and her nephew, Caleb, who was just 11 months old. At 5:30 a.m. on the 16th, Shannon's mother, Marie, is leaving for work. She sees Shannon on the couch asleep. She kisses her goodbye without waking her and heads to drop Caleb off at the sitters before heading to work. Shannon's sister Lisa reports that she did not see Shannon that day. She was still asleep when Shannon left sometime that morning. She reports that the TV was on and signs that Shannon had eaten breakfast. She reports that no one came by and no one else was in the home on the 16th. And then we go to a location that nobody knows where. To my knowledge, I would love to still, I've been trying for a couple years now to narrow down where she picked up the walker. So she goes to a neighbor's house to pick up a baby walker belonging to her nephew, Caleb. She had been told that she needed to come by and she needed to go and get the walker back for her little nephew. And that is the first place that we believe she went that morning. And then at approximately 7:45, Shannon walks to her friend's house on Red's Court in Candlestick. Her friend is unable to play at that time. She had to go with her dad on an errand. According to other sources, her friend remembers Shannon having Caleb's walker with her when she arrived. And I think Wesley's kind of showing you her house.
Can everybody see that?
I think so. I'm just looking on my small phone because I have this timeline pulled up on the computer. So hopefully.
If anybody can't see anything, just let us know.
Okay.
But,
And then
yeah.
our next time that we have is unknown. But she goes to a friend of Shannon's reports that she knocked on Shannon's door because they had planned to meet the night before while talking on the phone. Her friend was moving that day, and her sister had hoped to say goodbye to Shannon. She reports that she knocked on the door and was told by Lisa that Shannon was not home. She reports that they did not see her on any of their trips in and out of Candlestick that day. And then at approximately 9:30, the friend of Shannon she had gone to see at 7:45 in the morning, she returns home from her errand and goes by Shannon's to see if she can play. She knocks on the door and is told by Lisa that Shannon is not home. At 10 a.m., Shannon visits a neighbor on Metz Court. She stays for approximately 30 minutes. The neighbor reports that Shannon asked for a ride to the gas station just outside of Candlestick. She wanted to get some candy. She was unable to take her at that time, but told her to come back and she would take her when her child awoke. Shannon told her that she was going to go home to see if her sister was awake. She does not remember seeing the walker. And then we move to 10:30 to 11:45 approximately. That time is unaccounted for. And then at 11:45 approximately, Shannon stops by another neighbor's home carrying her nephew's walker. She was close with this neighbor and enjoyed hanging out with her. However, the neighbor was to be picked up for a doctor's appointment. She tells Shannon she needs to get ready. At approximately 11:55, Shannon is seen leaving by the neighbor. Her name is Miss Mary, and she has since passed. Shannon is leaving, and she sees her walking with the walker up to another neighbor's home. She knocked on their door, and when they did not answer, she then watched as Shannon walked towards her home, carrying the walker on her head. At approximately 12 p.m., Shannon goes to one last neighbor's home on Expo's Court. Shannon wanted to check on a pup she had rescued and her neighbors were keeping for her. They reported that their two sons, who were friends of Shannon's, answered the door, followed by their stepdad. He told her she couldn't come in as he needed to get ready to leave for work at the Prattville Police Department. His wife has told me that their house rule was not to allow young visitors when she was not at home. He and his two sons were the last known persons other than her killer to see Shannon alive and well. At 12:05 to 7 p.m., Shannon is abducted with a high probability of 12:05 to 1:15 as the window of opportunity for her abduction. This is why. At 1:15 approximately, the neighbor Shannon visited at approximately 12 is leaving for work and sees the walker laying by the curb of the neighbor that Shannon visited that did not answer the door. It was also their house rule that kids that must have gotten transversed. Okay. So the walker is found. He sees the walker by the curb. And I think he said he had to move it out of the way.
I believe so.
Yeah, and I actually got to meet both of him and his wife at the vigil, and very nice couple. And he was really shaken, and he's had to live under suspicion for all these years. And I personally don't think that is fair. I asked him point blank if he killed Shannon, and his answer convinced me that he did not. He was very, very, very direct with his response. And I think it's sad that a lot of people have been given a really hard time in this case. There's about 45 suspects at this point, and only one of them killed Shannon.
Mm-hmm. He was on his way to work, and I don't see how he could have.
I don't either. And his two boys were there. He was on his way to work. I'm sure that Prattville Police Department has him, signing in for work, and there was just no time. And I think that, yes, I do. I think that we'll talk about that here in a minute. But so let's get back to this so we don't confuse everyone. So at about 1:15 to 2:30, she wasn't quite sure. A pregnant neighbor who lived on Expos, but I think it's not called Expos. It's there in the back row to the right of the pond. That's where she lived. She was coming into the neighborhood, and she saw the walker lying on the curb, and she thought that it was discarded. So she picked it up for her baby. This neighbor did clean the walker. Once she realized it was Shannon's baby's brother's walker, she did return it to Shannon's family. And I do believe that they did call law enforcement about the walker to see if they wanted to do any tests. And I cannot remember if they looked at it or not. I believe that they did. So then approximately at 2:30, Marie arrives home from work. Shannon was not at home, and they assumed she was still visiting with one of her friends. Between 3 and 5, Marie and Lisa, or it could have been just Marie. I thought that I had remembered it was Lisa too. Run to Walmart. She wanted to pick up a surprise for Shannon, and she was not alarmed that Shannon was not home. She assumed she was playing at a friend's house and would be home for dinner. That was pretty standard for Shannon but she always came home for dinner. Between 6:30 and 7, Marie starts cooking dinner and becomes worried when Shannon doesn't return. So at approximately 7, Marie and one of her daughters start knocking on doors asking for Shannon. After calling Shannon's oldest sister, Tiffany, to come over to help find her, some neighbors joined them, and they started calling other family members. At about 7:30 to 8, approximately, Billy. No, I needed to take that out. Sorry. So at 8:45, approximately, Shannon's uncle Charlie, along with Aunt Jeanette and Uncle James, are called. They arrive shortly after to search for Shannon. At 9 p.m., Marie calls Prattville Police Department to report Shannon missing. At 9:15, approximately, police officers arrived to take a statement. In the middle of the statement, they left abruptly to go on a call. At 9:45, a member of the search party called Chief Alfred Wadsworth, along with Mayor Jim Byard. He and other officers arrived to help search for Shannon and finish the report. So 9:45 through the night into the morning of the 18th, Shannon's Aunt Jeanette, Uncle James, and Lisa went door to door to the people they knew who knew Shannon. No one had seen her. There were a lot of folks home. They found their interaction with Jack Earl Gibson, also known as the Root Beer Man, to be odd. It took him a while to answer the door. He cracked the door and he was fully dressed. And he said he had not seen her. He said she probably went to get candy. The next morning, he said she was probably at someone's house. He did not help in the search for Shannon. They searched for a couple hours and then went home. That was Jeanette and James. And then I think Tammy arrived, which is Charlie's wife, her aunt and uncle. And they pretty much stayed there at the family's house all night searching. And then we have between 10 p.m. and 11 is when Shannon's dad, Billy, is informed that Shannon is missing. Billy resided in Eufaula, Alabama, which is approximately 1 hour and 44 minutes away from Prattville. Billy and Marie were in the process of a divorce at the time of Shannon's disappearance. Billy was questioned in Eufaula and then came the next day. And he had said that he had to basically they weren't going to let him in because they were blocking people from coming and going through Candlestick. The police were. And when he got there, he was like, I'm her father. And he got in. On August 17th of 2001, the family arrives between 10 and 11. Some of them had been there all night, but some arrived later. And there wasn't too much activity that they reported. Jeanette stated that one thing that really stuck out to her that day was Ty Foster. He was working outside on one of his vans, and he never looked up. He did not search the night before, and she found this strange because he knew Shannon really well. Jeanette was not interviewed by law enforcement. Jeanette states that they interviewed Billy, Marie, her sisters, and they went to Georgia to speak with the family Shannon was with the week before the abduction. Tammy stated that she got there, and this Tammy is Shannon's aunt, around 10:30, and police were stopping cars as they entered Candlestick. Tammy states that the police officer neighbor would not allow his wife to be a part of the search. Tammy states that while her son and others were driving down County Road 4, someone shot at his truck, hitting the bumper. Tammy says they searched Jack Gibson's house. They witnessed this, and he took a bunch of stuff out. They found pictures he had taken of young girls, and none of those pictures were of Shannon, but they were of other neighbor children. Tammy states that the search dogs hit on Jack's trailer, so does Billy. And they were not wanting to move away from it. And the dogs then went to the creek area. They had gotten Shannon's scent from her room. They did go into the room to search, but it is unclear whether they did any forensics inside of the house. The family later found a notebook of Shannon's where she had written down directions to County Road 40 and a red van. The police said the note went nowhere. County Road 40 leads to County Road 66, just as a side note. On August 18th of 2001, I do have some articles to read, if that's okay with you guys. Get back to... Let's go over this real quick. So I can see it.
You want to look at the area around the park, or?
Yeah, I just wanted, like, the things that you were pointing out to me the other day. Let's talk about those.
I think for the benefit of folks who don't, that are not local, here now, this is Highway 31 that runs along the park, and it goes north and south. Mm-hmm. If you continue north on this road, you get to the area where they found Shannon. If you go south, you head on into Montgomery, Alabama. And the park is situated on the south side of Prattville, and as you back up, you can see this is the Alabama River. And there was the stories you hear of bridge construction was happening here at that time. So sometimes we hear that story as a lead or a possible lead. So you have a few things right around the area. You mentioned County Road 4 a minute ago when
Yep.
somebody shot at Billy and Charlie and those guys while they were looking. This is the road.
Mm-hmm.
So basically they went down this road. I think Billy was in the back of the truck in the bed, and he said he heard the bullets whizzing past his head. I think one of them may have hit the truck, but he said bullets went past his head right out here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that would be necessarily related to the case or not, but it happened. There is an area down here that is a known drug crime sort of area. It's off the road back here. It's kind of tucked back in here. I think over in here somewhere. Yeah, there it is.
So it could have been.
It's possible. Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of way back there. So unless they were really going into that area, which I don't think they were, so I'm not sure what that would have been. But some of the other things that you might hear about, Corky's Homes is this is right over here. This is they owned the park, and Ty Foster worked for them as the maintenance man in the park. So it's literally right across the street. And so that's a landmark. And just about the park itself, one thing I wanted to point out, as you drive past it here on the road, it sits way down. It's low down from the road. This is actually, when you go in this main entrance here, it's a hill. You're going down to the bottom.
And it is a hill.
So this is, yes. And this isn't the kind of place that somebody just drives through, trolling around looking, like somebody who's not even from the area would do. They might do that over here in an area like this, where they could get in and out on the other side, but not here. So I think that whoever took her was either living in the park or was spending a lot of time there, friend or working there.
Totally agree.
And there is another way. There's a place over here you can get out, and people use this, but it's not the ideal way. So the main entrance is that this one right here. And these areas here, I've never seen any cars trying to go in and out of there. You can reach it by foot, but it's a busy road, so there's not a lot of foot traffic up here.
And it is a pretty busy road.
And it was back then as well. And one thing I wanted to point out as well here, that this is something I think about. Some people, when I talk about this, a lot of people don't really think about it, but we talk about the park, everybody over here, but there's a path here, and it goes through these woods right here, and there's two other parks sitting right over here, Hilltop and Brandywine, and people knew each other in both places. And the teenagers talked about how they would go back and forth and seeing their friends, and I'm pretty sure some of the older folks did too. So there's a chance. I mean, it was a path running right through there.
Exactly.
I mean, it doesn't. We don't.
Yeah, for sure. And there was a little shack right in there. I had found my old pictures of it. I don't know what its status is, but it was, you can see it right there.
There's one there. There's actually a bigger house back here too. I think you can see it when you use the 3D view, but it's buried in there somewhere.
And then I was listening to my episodes to refresh my memory on everything from the podcast that we did. And my dad had brought up a good point as far as they had just moved to Candlestick not too long before this incident happened. I think it was within that 6-month period or so, and they lived off county in another mobile home park off County Road 4.
Yeah, down this way.
That one would be another one that would be a place to pull suspects from as well. And I think Billy had brought that up on the podcast as well. And so, I thought that was a good point my dad had made. And so, we've really got, what is that now? 4 prime locations. And
there's one more I was going to talk about as we get to the other area that I'm thinking about as well lately. And one other quick thing here. This is something that people, it doesn't have any bearing on the case. It was there and it's still there.
Mhm.
This structure here has been sitting next to this road probably for almost 100 years, and it's
Yeah,
a
so cool.
it's a little beehive looking kind of a thing, but it's nobody really knows exactly what it is. But it was a part of there used to be some sort of an amusement park or a water park that would sit in this area, and that was part of that structure. And at one point there was, I believe it was a gas station, and they had like I think it was called a Red Devil gas station, and so they had one of those old iron or metal, what do you call them, weather vane, and it would sit up on
Mhm.
top of this thing, and it was a Red Devil, and that was the name of the gas station. And
Oh,
so
can you do
if you're
Street
ever in
View?
the area, yeah, that's the story on it,
Yeah.
and
Shannon
it's a
played
good
in that
landmark.
with her friend. Her friend told me a story about her. They would go there and
Yeah.
pretend to be princesses. Can you do Street View real quick? Because I think you should be able to see it on Street View.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Let me make sure I
Yeah,
don't
you just
screw it up.
drag that little
Oh, here we
guy
go.
down.
Yeah, there we go. A little dude here. There it is.
Yeah. Isn't that so cool?
And
I mean, I would totally be drawn to that as a child. I would want to play in
it's
that
and
every day.
it's just I mean, for years I used to go by. Well, I messed it up now. I
You
used
just
to
have
go
to
by
go a little
there,
farther.
and I would always see that thing, and I never really thought about what it was. And finally, we started talking about it and looking it up. This whole area
And is
back
that
here has been sitting empty. These buildings are just falling apart back here.
yeah, it's
There's nobody in
sad.
them.
And then
Yeah,
that's Candlestick. Is that some of the mobile homes in Candlestick right there that we can kind of
right
see
here.
from the road here?
Yeah,
Do
this
you
is that
mind
area that I'm talking about where
going
it's hard to
down a
get.
little farther on there? Just
Oh
because
yeah,
I want to show that you really can't see into Candlestick from this busy road. Like someone can see
right.
her walking along inside of the neighborhood and then be like, just snatch her up. And plus, like, I was there. We did a video, it's on YouTube, and we were walking around out there, and everybody was aware of us being there. We stuck out like sore thumbs. And so if a stranger had to come into here, they
Because
would
it's
have
really close.
they would have noticed. And a lot of people were home that day.
It's really close
You're right.
quarters in there. I might need to
It
get out of
is.
this and
You might
go
have to
back in.
get out and go in and go down the
Yeah,
road a little
so I
bit.
can get us back to a good spot.
Yeah.
We'll
I
waste
think it's
time here.
important to always, if you know the area, where then you can kind of do Occam's razor, as far as it's not like you can see the hill right there. Like this would never fly in Indiana because no one would be able to get out of the neighborhood in the snow and ice.
And
But
for example, I used to, I was here in 2001, and I would go back and forth to the base, and I used to go in the morning, but when it was dark still, and I used to see, as I drove by, I could see the lights they had in their yard. They had them set up to where they had the street lamps, and they made them look like candles. I guess that's why they called it Candlestick Park. But it looked really cool at night to see all those little lights through the trees as you just drove by.
mhm,
Because see how
yeah,
you can, they're all down there, basically sitting under this area here.
right. Yeah. I think that's
And I don't
important.
know
And
if
then
that's
what you were showing me at the back of Candlestick, it is, like there's no access back there.
right.
Um,
Oh, right. Not for vehicles anyway.
mhm,
Now we can look at real quick. This area here, see this area that's marked Astros. There's
mhm,
no trailers here, but back in 2001, there was several trailers along this area here, but I think it was prone to flooding, so
mhm,
they don't use it anymore. But it's the area is still there. But I
right.
think some of the folks involved or that we know kind of lived along here,
Mhm,
and you can kind of see the railroad tracks. So from the back, you got the creek, and you got tracks going that way. And real quickly, I know we've had a couple of years ago or whenever that was, we had a guy in here and there was a big conversation about this land up here. There was a local judge lived there, and there had been some murders there in 2003 or something to that effect. And so there was a lot of suspicion up there. And as I look at it, though, this again is a big hill. So you got creek, you got railroad tracks, and you got a big hill.
Mhm. Right.
So that's what they would have to deal with if somebody came from that way to the park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's the main things that I wanted to point out. For some, I don't think we have street view in the park. I don't think I can get that, but I should drive through there one day and just with the camera on. And I've driven through so many times now, I don't really care if anybody sees me in there or not anymore.
There is a video in the Shannon Paulk playlist of myself, Wesley, and Deborah and her sister walking through the park. It's a pretty good, like you get a real good feel for the neighborhood. And I can definitely find that.
Yeah.
It is helpful to know like the area, because then you can kind of, it's just like, it's to me, it was someone from that fit in here.
And because when you're driving your car in here, you can't get a feel for it by looking at it. But when you're driving here, you are like so close to these houses. And when you're walking, I mean, everybody is so close. It's not like it's spread out really. It's all crammed in there together. And so you really, so that's why I think that if whoever was in the park that day was not somebody that was unusual to be there, because nobody remembers, they would have known that was if there was somebody they didn't know in the park that day, but people coming and going.
Right. And then the store
sometimes
there.
You hear this, yeah.
Well,
you hear
she
this
had
mentioned
wanted
sometimes.
to go to the store to get candy.
Yeah. Right.
And that's why I found it. Right. Yeah. Yep. That's why I found it super odd that Jack Gibson would say, oh, she probably just went to the store to get candy. What child goes to the store at 11 o'clock at night to get candy? But she was going there earlier in the day, Jack. So that's a very odd.
So it is interesting. Almost like maybe she could even have asked him maybe if here's what it looks like now. It's been empty for a long time.
And they did have cameras there, which the police did take and returned, from what we've been told.
And gas was $4.20 there, and even though there's no gas pumps.
Wow.
And see, here's where you look across the park. I mean, the park's literally right over here, but you can't even see it because it sits down so low. See that?
Yep. Yeah, that's.
And another thing, they took the sign away. You remember the old Candlestick Park sign's not there anymore.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Okay, I'll shut up. I'm just running off at the mouth here.
Okay. And then I have a couple of articles I'm going to read now, and then we will go back to Wesley's beautiful Google Earth here. I love it. And show the crime scene area. And then we have a video. We have another video of never before seen footage of my visit. Wesley and I went out to the crime scene and with our videographer, and we got some footage that I would like you guys to be able to see. So I put it together. It's about a 10-minute video, and I think I did pretty good. We'll see. The volume, you might have to adjust it from here and there, because again, it's just recorded on a cell phone and a selfie stick. So, but I'm going to go ahead and read some of these articles of just going back to that timeline. So we left off on the 18th, and I have some articles from the newspapers from the search. They had a paper out on the 18th. And let me share my screen. So this is them searching the pond. They dragged the pond there in the center that you saw Wesley showed. And I'm just going to read a little bit of this. Prattville police officers and rescue workers Friday scoured the woods and around Candlestick Park, a mobile home community, looking for a missing 11-year-old girl. Shannon Nicole Paulk of Prattville was last seen in the community about noon Thursday, and police chief Alfred Wadsworth, "It's not like her to stay away from home," said Shannon's mother, Marie. She knew everybody in the neighborhood and had a lot of friends she would play with. It's not unusual for her to be gone several hours, but she always came back home to get something to drink or eat before going back out again, she said. Officers began searching at around 9 p.m. Thursday. Members of the Autauga County Rescue Squad joined the effort Friday and searched the woods and creek banks behind the community as a state helicopter flew over the area. Police are treating the yeah, I never. As it says, I know what the article says. It just says as suspicious as foul play. And this, I think I've already read that. And then we have on August 19th of 2001, Jack Earl Gibson, the root beer man, age 55, on 1374 Metz Court, was arrested and indicted on 100 counts of child pornography, including 4 printed pictures of nude girls. None were Shannon, according to her family. He was later cleared of Shannon's murder. Case leads to 2 unrelated arrests. We call these Shannon's task force because that's who everyone here is working for. We are here to bring her home, Wadsworth said, amid dozens of computer terminals, intricate maps of the search area, and several aerial photographs. The members of the task force are dedicated to this task. We are fired up. We have several leads we are following. The task force is made up of officers or agents from Alabama Bureau of Investigation, Autauga County Sheriff's Department, District Attorney's Office, FBI, and Prattville Police Department. Wadsworth was able to give an exact number of people working the case. Numerous is all I can tell you, he said. From our department alone, we have our youth aid investigators, the drug enforcement unit, our investigators, and we are getting help from every shift of the patrol division. During one door-to-door canvass of Candlestick, we had 14 FBI agents alone on that detail. That's not counting what other agencies had there. Bud James of Prattville supports the massive efforts to bring Shannon home. It's good to see all of these different agencies working so well together. He said, it's obvious they are doing everything they can to get to the bottom of this. While giving the tour, Wadsworth also announced that 2 arrests were made in 2 unrelated cases. The 2 men live in the same mobile home park as the missing girl, but officials stressed that these were separate cases. Wadsworth said Jack Earl Gibson, the root beer man, Gibson, 55, of 1374 Metz Court in Candlestick Park, was arrested on 5 charges of possession of obscene matter containing persons under the age of 17. Gibson is out on bond totaling $100,000. Gibson was arrested the Sunday after Shannon was reported missing, Wadsworth said. Although both arrests are the results of searching for Shannon, the arrests are not connected to the missing girl. In another arrest, Ty K. Foster, 41, of 1633 Astros Avenue, faces sodomy charges, according to arrest reports. Additional charges for sex-related offenses are coming, the chief said. The chief said Foster's arrest came after several months of an ongoing investigation by the Prattville Police Department. Foster was arrested Wednesday night and is being held in the Prattville City Jail, according to arrest reports. On August 25th, that's when we just read that. On August 25th of 2001, the Shannon Task Force is set. It had already been set up pretty much from like 4 days in. There was a press conference that was held by law enforcement for the disappearance of Shannon. And I believe I have those here. This just talks about how everyone that they have searching for her. She was last seen at about noon. Police are working the case as a missing persons report. It's not like her to stay away from home. She knew everybody in the neighborhood and had a lot of friends she would play with. It's not unusual for her to be gone several hours, but she always came back home to get something. So we already read that part. Neighbors described Shannon as friendly, trusting girl who often knocked on doors and asked to play with children and pets. She was such a sweet child. I felt she was like my own granddaughter, said Maxine Kraft, and Park resident. She would come and visit with me a lot. I have arthritis. I would pay her $1 or $2 when she would sweep off my porch for me or pick up sticks in the yard. Shannon's mother left the home for work at about 7 a.m. Last Thursday, and her 16-year-old daughter babysits, police reports say. When Mrs. Paulk came home at about 3 p.m., Shannon had not been home. About 7:15, the family got concerned and started asking neighbors if they had seen the missing girl. 20 or 30 Park residents began looking for the girl. The police were alerted about 9 p.m. Thursday, Chief Alfred Wadsworth said. A command post has been set up for the effort. 4 days, the investigation and search operations were staged out of the playground at the park. We need privacy and secure communication, said Wadsworth, who said that the command post is in a city-owned building. Wadsworth said police will maintain a strong presence in the park and the areas around the park. That's where the investigation is still centered. The task force looking into the disappearance meets daily to discuss the investigation. The task force is made up of Alabama Bureau of Investigations, Autauga County Sheriff's Department, District Attorney's Office, FBI, Prattville Police Department. Search dogs were once again combing the area around Candlestick Wednesday. The effort has turned up several leads. Wadsworth credited the public for tips that are coming into the department and the hotline established for the investigation. We are still working on our timeline and ask anyone who may have seen Shannon to call the hotline and give us that information. Every piece of information is important as we will check all tips. But I think it was just important to mention that there were dogs and dog teams. So basically, to sum that all up, is there was an extensive search with lots of different agencies, canine teams, civilians, and they also put up a billboard. They drug Cooter's Pond and then the pond, the little pond there in Candlestick, and a billboard was put up and flyers were dispersed throughout the state. On September 11th of 2001, the terrorists attack the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. Many of the FBI agents, along with reserves, were called away. The focus of the entire country was centered on this devastating event. Many speculate that the unfortunate timing played a role in the case. In September of 2001, there is a $20,000 reward for information that was set up. And then on October 6th, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, I will unshare mine. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to read these articles while he kind of shows you the area, and then we'll discuss the area after I read this article. Oh, wait, am I still sharing? No, you are?
We got it. I think we're good now.
Okay, good. Rabbit hunters found the badly decomposed remains of a young girl last Saturday afternoon. No identification has been made, but authorities believe it to be the remains of 11-year-old Prattville girl Shannon Nicole Paulk, who disappeared from her Candlestick Park neighborhood on August 16th. Quote, "We are very interested in what has been found," said Prattville Police Chief Alfred Wadsworth. The body has been taken to forensic sciences for autopsy and identification. We can't say it is Shannon right now. However, there are no other missing persons reports out there fitting the description of the body that was found today. The body was found off an old Fire Lane Road in Autauga County Game Management Area. The management area is a public hunting preserve of more than 500 acres, about 15 miles north of Prattville. The area is secluded. James Gullidge and Clifford Ziegler were hunting rabbits when they discovered the remains, a black plastic bag and clothing in a pile. 2 dogs jumped a rabbit and carried the rabbit by the body, and that's when I discovered it was Shannon Paulk, Ziegler said. Ziegler said he believes the body is Shannon Paulk because he recognized her short, brownish blonde hair and the shorts with a butterfly on them. "I am glad we found her, but I was sorry she wasn't alive," he said. The men said that the body had been bound with rope and placed in a trash bag with the clothing. Gullidge said he passed the remains twice that morning, thinking it was trash in the road, before he discovered what they were. "My heart goes out to the family," he said. Ziegler's familiar with the body, where the body was found, and like other residents, was keeping an eye out for information which may have assisted in the search. "I hunt these woods all the time. As long as she had been missing, I kept in mind if she would be found, it would be in a..." I have to get to the next article. Sorry.
Mel, was that a quote from Ziegler?
Yes.
That's interesting because when I talked to him, he said he couldn't remember he didn't know the area at all. And I think he just said in the article that he was familiar with the woods or something to that effect, didn't he?
It's not on this page.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had just read that part where he was where
Well,
he
yeah,
said he was familiar.
the article continues to the second page, but
Okay,
here we go. I got it. Yeah, he goes on to say more.
okay.
And I believed it would be found in a wooded area, said Ziegler said. The Paulk family was not talking with the media Saturday night, said a family spokesperson. Prattville Mayor Jim Baird and District 7 Councilman Gene Hall were at the family home when a local TV station broadcast their first report on the finding of a body. They, of course, were devastated, Beard said. It's very hard watching the TV news and hearing information like this. They had a minister at the home offering counseling. When we left, they asked us to pray. I said, and prayer, and then Councilman Hall prayed with them. The hunters reported the body to the Autauga County Sheriff's Department at about 12:45. The Sheriff's Department then informed the Prattville Police Department, lead agency in the investigation. The two agencies, along with the Alabama Bureau of Investigation, FBI, and District Attorney's Office, are part of the task force searching for Shannon. The vanishing of the girl has hit this community, known for its low crime rate, hard. Thousands of yellow bows have sprung up on vehicles, homes, and buildings during the investigation as a show of support for the Paulk family. I was heartbroken when I heard the news, said Candy Gibson of Prattville Saturday. Our church has been praying for Shannon since the beginning, and I have a 10-year-old son. I have been watching him very closely since all of this happened. The fact that the body was dumped in the management area, said Jason Smith of Autauga County, to believe a local person is responsible. He says, you had to know where that place was to do something like this. That means the son of a bitch is still out there and is walking our streets. Wadsworth cautioned parents of children to exercise caution. You need to watch your children at all times. But we have someone out there who took a child. Parents need to exercise good common sense about where their children go and what they do. And I think that was all I was going to read. Oh, this part. The task force has put in thousands of man hours in the case. The area around Paulk's mobile home community have been scoured several times with ground teams, search dogs, and helicopters. The management area was not part of the search area. Thousands of flyers with Shannon's picture had been distributed throughout central Alabama. Law enforcement have also released a composite of a man seen with Shannon the afternoon she vanished. He is being sought as a witness in the case, officials said. Investigators have waited this part through more than 5,000 driver's license photos seeking the man's identity. About 500 pictures matched the man close enough. You just want everybody to hear that. To warrant a follow-up. Investigators have cleared about 300 of the 500 photos. Investigators are also looking for a Jeep vehicle like a Wrangler, red in color with a black soft top and black interior, and round headlights, as well as a white passenger car with a braided rope license plate frame. News of the discovery spread quickly through the town last weekend. Libba Richards of Prattville was shopping Sunday afternoon in Lowe's home department. The Richards had guests over for a cookout Saturday night. My husband walked in the house and said to get something and caught the news and said he came out on the deck, white as a sheet. He said they found Shannon. We could tell by the look on his face it wasn't good news. And then, so basically from that, we got the two hunters found her body in a very remote hunting preserve. And she had been placed under some brush in a trash bag. She was unclothed and tied with rope. Her clothes were in a bag. They were in the bag in a pile. The bag was then tied with rope. The family states that they were told she was skeletonized for the most part, except for her head, and that her remains had been scattered by scavengers. The family states this is not a location just anyone would be able to find. On October 19th of 2001, the funeral is held for Shannon. And then we'll go ahead and go back to Wesley, and we can take a peek at the...
Okay. Just again, moving in kind of from far away and coming in. This is Highway 31 over here to the right. That's the same road that the Candlestick Park is on. It's just about 15 miles down to the south. So you literally follow it up here, and you would make this left turn, cross the interstate, and then you're into the area. This is County Road 40, which they had said that, didn't they, Mel, that she had a note in her room that had some directions that mentioned County Road 40? And that's what this is right here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few different ways to get there. This isn't the only way, but this is probably the most common way. You drive up, make this turn.
Yeah.
And you could, this is the way when Mel came, we went all the way down this road, and and it's a long jaunt.
Yeah, you'll get to see that here in a minute.
Yeah. And we'll just show you how long it is. Then I'm going to come back to a couple of these areas here. And this is a 66, County Road 66. And I just put, this is a landmark for anybody coming through. Boone's Chapel sits on the corner of 59 and 66. And when you cross 66, you get the feeling that you're driving right through their parking lot. It's actually the road, but it's, and, feel like you're going right through their parking lot of the church. Mm-hmm. And you know you're getting closer when you get to that point. You come follow it on down. And eventually you'll get to the road, and it's a like you had said, it's a hunting, they called it a fire lane. Mm-hmm. And it's not a it's a left turn here, or depending on which way you're coming, but it's not a 90-degree turn. It's kind of it goes kind of that at an angle, so it's kind of hidden from the road. So you could pull a vehicle into there a little bit and in and out, and it's not real obvious. You could stay out of sight. And then it's a little bit of a walk. We made this walk down here. And to the right, eventually there's going to be, it's a footpath basically is what this is. And it leads now, at least this clearing. I'm sorry?
It was pretty wide though. You could probably get a vehicle in there. I think we talk
yes,
about
definitely could. And of course, we'll look in a minute if you want at the overlays of what it used to look like.
Yeah, go ahead and do that now, and then we'll show the video.
Yeah, that changes some things.
I've
got one here. The nearest I could get was 1997, and then I have a 2005 one. Okay. And so 97 would be pretty close, I think, to what we. Okay, and as you can see here, the clearing, this is where we marked the clearing at. And that's, as if you go there today, you go down here and it stops, and you're in a clearing and there's trees everywhere. Mm-hmm. But back then, look at this, the road went all the way through. Mm-hmm. The path went all the way through, and even down here. So it was much different then. There's even a way maybe even coming from this way.
Yeah.
So we might not be on the spot with exactly where we were at. It could be he could have gone further in here with it, like further down this way.
After or even over here. It, I know you haven't seen it yet, but I think we were in the right place. Close. Just because of the pictures that we were able to compare, because we compared pictures when we were out there. And I think, but another thing you had mentioned was that this land was plowed and they set it on fire, or like
it looked like that. We'll look at some of these, maybe this 08 picture that has that. Hold on a second. That's maybe not. I'll find it here. I'll go to the actual screen and do it. Apologize for my dog back there. She's barking something. Okay, I'm not sure that's even working. Doesn't seem to want to do it for me here. Not sure why. But there's one time when you saw where where you could really tell where it looked like the land had been burned off, or
if you hit the arrow button on the other side, it'll just kind of scroll backward for you.
You go through. Okay.
I think your overlay is still on there. That's why.
Oh, okay. Hey, there you go. I'm the smart one here. Let's see. So I need to take off the this overlay. Oh, yes. Okay. Very good. So let's get a little closer to it. And this is in 98. Okay, so as we can see, this is kind of similar to what it may have looked like at the time that everything happened. So we just know that the road goes a little further. So as we go along then, this is in 05, 06, 08. There we go. That's 2011. See, so since I mean, this has been completely, so there's no telling now. I mean, you know,
Right.
any, you know, I mean, I don't know, you know, what we really, I mean, thought we could find when we were out there, but I believe there had been a memorial place
Well,
there
I
at some
actually
point.
did
But
find that trail. I mentioned it in the video. When we're out there, you'll see like that I did find that trail that kind of goes towards the back. But that's really the only clearing in that whole area is still,
right,
regardless of the vegetation changes, it's still a clearing. And
right.
the
And
other
you have a road going
roads,
to it.
yeah. So I think that's probably the right spot.
Close. Also, if you look at the news footage, that the little bit of footage that we do have showing the investigators on the scene, there's one that shows one of the officers walking up. I guess he looked like he was getting some water or something from the vehicle, and you can see a path behind him as he walks up. And I don't know if that may be this path. It could be this path or this path, you know. So
yeah,
there was one right there. You could kind of see it behind him as he walked across.
very good.
Okay. Get rid of that thing. Take us back to the modern times here.
Just X off of it.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. Well, are we ready to show it's about a 10-minute video, and you'll hear us we're driving at first, and then, you know, I've kind of cut it into segments, but you'll hear a lot of Wes and I's hypotheses as we were out at the area. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll play that.
These kind of streets on any of the Google maps.
Right, yeah. Very isolated, that's for sure.
See, here's a screenshot of where the guy. Is that something burned? because I wouldn't like that listed this year. Compare, I took that video. Somebody may have come out and burned it. Burned something.
In there,
What is it?
like possible old trails. Yeah, you can tell where a trail hasn't been walked on in a while, but it's there.
It looks like it's really well traveled. I mean, it doesn't seem like people are coming back here all the time. They could have been close, closer to those pine trees. The angle might have been. There's pine trees there. And it would seem more open because that wouldn't be there maybe.
Well, and they did say under a bush.
Yeah.
Under the brush. That's why I just think that,
Those spots there, I mean, like how those low spots, it's
right,
like,
where they're
that's-
looking down at it, but.
and also if you were taking something and trying to hide it, it would just be natural to just pull it right down
Right.
in that low area.
My thing is like, okay, I mean, but literally, I mean, you could pull your car, your truck, your van, whatever,
And
right
it'd be
here,
quick. You can do it quick.
and but it's a trash bag.
Yeah.
She was 86 pounds, about 4'2" or 3".
She was
No,
taller
she
than
was
that.
taller than
Four,
that.
like 4'11",
4'10",
or
yeah, something like that. So that's dead weight.
come up facing out or
I
back.
gotta get rid of her quick. I don't even know how to get her out. I got this trash bag. I'm gonna put her in it and get out of here before the cops get here because people are already searching. I know where this place is. I'm just gonna go straight there. Come, pull in, knowing exactly where he's going with the spot already in mind because he likes that way. So he pulls in and then
the first place that has cover.
but you're gonna have to, even if you say a van or a truck bed or a car,
Even
or
a car with a
whatever,
hatchback or something.
you're going to okay, the bag was tied with rope. If you drag that bag, it's gonna rip.
It would have to be carried. I think still. I don't think it would.
I feel like it was a pick it up, one of these,
and then it's just quick as you can.
and then just
Right, with no real.
get it, and then
just hope that it's covered up enough.
and that's at the animals to see where he made a mistake was that trash bag. I think the trash bag was convenient because he had to get her, you can't get
Concealed
if she
too.
was in a house
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to just load a body up at 7.
So if you have a bag, it looks like you're
o'clock.
taking something out.
But if no one is thinking she's missing yet, and you're taking your shot, you'd have to have a reason that you having black trash bags wouldn't stand out.
Right.
But I just feel like it was a over the shoulder grab, like
Real
you're
quick.
Santa in a row, like that's good enough. I gotta
Back
get.
a place to back up real quick, or
And a bag is slick, so even it's not going to take a strong person either.
right.
And you can kick that down
Move it
because
around.
it does slope right
Yeah.
down there.
Right. If you have a truck bed, something you can pull it off a little easier, or a hatchback if you back it all the way up.
And then he booked it.
Yeah.
He booked it out, and he went right back home before the cops got there. But it was closed. Get you a bottle of water. It's super hot. Get you a bottle of water and take you over there, and then. Hit her over the head, but she went right back into a trailer and in that she went right back
Yeah,
in.
because it would have been too noticeable, I think, in the middle of the day.
Yeah, I think I just either if they ran across the street to get candy, like, oh, come on in, we got the air on. It still happened inside someone's home.
Like he could have took her there and brought her back. I mean, she
That's what I'm
actually could have gone to the store and back.
Right.
It's too bad they supposedly they checked the old camera, I guess, back in the day. But
How could you think? Because that's deflecting that anger.
Y'all know I would
out.
never do that. I would never do that. That's not the kind of person I am.
That you would think that of me.
Yeah.
That anyone would think that of me. Instead of like when you're telling the truth and it is something so heinous like that, it's going to be like direct, and it's not going to be in future tense. It's going to be in past tense.
There's a lot of that in the Chris White's interviews when he did all that stuff.
Analyzing that one. But yeah, like.
But also when they say
does
that,
a lot of that in this.
when they say I would never do that, they're also kind of thinking to themselves. They're kind of they're thinking my real me wouldn't do that. I don't, like I wouldn't do that. I didn't want to do, or I did it.
Right. And sometimes they'll Freudian slip right there.
Yeah.
Like what that.
I didn't want to do it. I didn't mean to do it.
Yeah, and you can trip them up that way too.
For some reason they can't look at them and just say, like you said, I did not do that.
Right.
You can get that kind of like you're wrong.
Yeah, because I mean, you got to think when what if I.
Like if you said that, I'd be like, no way in hell I did.
Shannon.
Yeah.
Wesley, did you kill
But
Shannon?
I'd be like, no way in hell did I do that,
And you'd be
but
pissed.
there's no way you can prove it because it didn't happen, So yeah.
So when you get
mad
around
about
the
it.
bushes, but yeah, I mean that's offensive to someone's sensibilities.
Yeah.
And so when it's not, that's
right.
That's a.
Or if they stay calm and they just like offer some alternate explanation as if they've thought about it, as if they've rehearsed
and that's the thing. Go ahead, and that was another thing when I watched those seminars was they're going to want to get those facts that they think you're already going to know.
This seems like pretty much in the next few days.
So yeah,
that was really good.
Couldn't show it all. We had about an hour worth of footage. I just kind of edited out little parts just to kind of give us some things to talk about and what we were thinking that day when we were out there. But yeah, it really does look like just they call it like just the dump site of just like someone that just literally, get rid of her quick and, get there and get back and probably not even be noticed. It makes me wonder because it is a red dirt road and in Prattville, there really wasn't, it was more of just, brown. If anyone would remember a truck or a car that came back in, if the police were stopping all those cars, that was covered in red dirt because it was dust. And my car was still covered in it when I got back to Indiana, and you guys all saw that road. Like it is a true red dirt road, Alabama red dirt road. Like it is the definition of that, which is beautiful. And I love it. Dusty though, very dusty. My car was like literally covered in a film and it made it all the way back to Indiana, so it felt kind of cool. But yeah, were you scared of me when we were out there? I didn't even think of that with all my knife.
I just noticed
someone had.
I just noticed I was a few quarter pounders heavier than I am now, but
yeah, I had my smokes in my back pocket, so I'm glad that I quit. But I did. Well, the knife was just more for like if we found anything, we poked around with my knife some when we
Yeah.
were out there. But yeah, I do carry. I carry every day, so that's just kind
Yeah.
of I forget it's there. But I wish those
It's
smokes weren't there.
necessary. Yeah.
Yeah,
One thing
her
I wanted
body
to
was
mention that
not
I
over.
noticed real quick was when you show them the shots of the playground there,
Hmm.
uh, Prattville, the city of Prattville just tore that playground down and they're building a new one on top of it. Or I don't know what the progress is, but they tore that thing down. And I
Do
went
they
over
tear?
there,
Down?
the tree, no, the tree wasn't torn down, but I went over and looked,
Goodness.
and the monument was not there the first day they started. So I think they picked it up. I'm hoping they picked it up and are safeguarding it and put it back later.
I hope so.
But that was a couple months ago when they started to work on it, and so that's a big change in the park. That's the
Yeah.
park that everybody's kids played at, but including Shannon and her
Hmm.
family.
Yeah. It's it's super sad, and it just seems like one of those things, we've had offer from Gray Hughes Investigates to fund the DNA. That went nowhere. We've gotten media. I mean, we really did like we've and worked really hard to try to keep attention on this case, and we've gotten NBC, Dateline through NBC, and a lot of the local coverage, Associated Press. I mean, there's been a lot of coverage in the last couple years again, and yeah. I did have one article I wanted us to look at. It was something new that I learned about through that cold case club through HQ. So I was going to go ahead and pull that up. It's something that there's always advancements, and I don't know. I feel like some of these law enforcement agencies maybe are just not aware of them, and so maybe someone was watching and they may see this and think, like this could be a thing that we could try for this case. Because I do know that through my talks with Detective Tom Allen, that the crime lab, the state crime lab, doesn't allow them just to send, tons and tons of so they have, so say you have an article of clothing, they can pick spots on that article of clothing that they think is the highest probability of finding the killer's DNA or DNA, like whatever. And so they have to send those in, and they can only send in like one or two at a time. And they have over the years. But this new technology is a way that circumvents that. And it is pretty freaking awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and share and catch you guys all up on this, because I thought it was super duper cool. So INVAC Systems enables investigators to solve more crime through better DNA collection. It expands potential evidentiary items by collecting DNA from porous and rough objects or surfaces. It helps detectives, analysts, and CSI move cases forward. For example, the INVAC collected probative DNA on a cold case victim's water-soaked clothing. For a comprehensive introduction, goes to our webpage, you will find answers. Well, let's just go ahead and see what this case was. The victim was found partially submerged. She had been in water for 8 to 10 hours. There were signs of sexual assault, but serological testing revealed no signs of semen and or spermazo. I don't know how to say that word. on the victim's panties. The MVAC was used to sample the crotch area and the waistbands. The resulting samples were concentrated utilizing the centrifuge method. Only the crotch sample had a positive quantification for male DNA. The ratio of male to female DNA was 6,000 to 1. It was amplified using Applied Biosystems Y-Filer YSTR amplification kit. Despite the extreme ratio, a partial Y-Filer profile from a single male contributor was obtained. In Sorensen Forensics' opinion, processing with MVAC allowed the minimal amounts of male DNA to be collected despite overwhelming female victim DNA. Exposure to the effects of water and a limited amount of cellular material or touch DNA. So basically, from my understanding of, let's see if maybe this gives us a little bit how it works. The MVAC is a wet vacuum DNA collection system. How wet vacuum sampling and collection technology works is discussed in this section, including the basics demonstrated of how to use. Let's read who benefits. Because the science of it is probably over a lot of our heads, but whether you're a prosecuting attorney, CSI detective, forensic scientist, sheriff, or chief of police, the DNA collection of MVAC offers unique benefits that need to be explored. Everyone benefits when cases are solved and move forward to the next stage. So it only makes sense that every level of benefactor would be interested in utilizing the latest in forensic DNA collection. I mean, I think this is just so freaking cool. So it is a sterile wet vac. Collection solution is sprayed onto the surface while simultaneously being vacuumed off of the surface. It creates a mini hurricane that loosens the DNA material, which is transferred to the collection bottle and later concentrated onto a filter. Here is a short video describing the MVAC. Well, let's do watch.
Traditional collection methods primarily collect DNA material from the surface or top of a substrate. But when the substrate is rough, porous, or the DNA is spread over a large area, they can fail to collect sufficient levels to generate a viable profile. The MVAC system is a wet vacuum-based forensic DNA collection system that sprays a sterile solution onto any surface and collects the DNA material, even when the DNA is difficult to collect from the fibers, cracks, and crevices. This method has been shown to collect up to 200 times more DNA than traditional methods. The MVAC has been successful even after a traditional sample method has been tried. Every investigator knows the more quality DNA collected, the better the chances for a viable profile. With the advent of wet vacuum collection, investigators can now look at negative past results and ask, was there no DNA material on that surface? Or did the method used just not collect it? If it's the latter, then they know they need to utilize the MVAC. The MVAC system is helping investigators solve more crime through better forensic DNA collection. The MVAC can provide new life for an investigation and a better chance to solve the case.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah. I think that because of the way that he explained it to me, that to me seems like a no-brainer that they could try. What do you think, Wes? Did it make sense?
Yeah, I don't understand why they wouldn't be able to test it.
Remember the rope that was brought up, and that is where they supposedly got the touch DNA profile. If you did this machine across the entire rope, trash bag, I mean, you can use it on all kinds of surfaces, the clothing, the underwear, I mean, and you're collecting a massive amount of DNA. So say you have a mixed profile or a partial profile with the system that this allows for, you can get a bigger sample. And sometimes that's what's holding the case back from being prosecuted, because they don't have enough to go into
Right.
CODIS per se, but remember we talked about it yesterday or the day before, McElroy, and
Right.
that this was another pedophile that was living in Candlestick. And in the affidavit, it says that he was asked to give his DNA because he looked like the suspect of the crazy sketch that I'm not going to show. And thing makes me angry. We'll get to that here in a minute, but it says that he was willing. He said, I had nothing to do with this. Yes, you can have my DNA. He gives them his DNA. And then it says, and later that proved to be the case that he was not the suspect. And so to me, I took that as they had something that they could compare it to. Does that mean you can take that
Right.
to a court of law? Absolutely not. Sometimes DNA is just used to exclude a person. And
Yeah.
obviously, there are some suspects that they have not been able to exclude based on the DNA. That's what I was told about Ty Foster. And then, but also, and Jack Gibson. So that, tells me that they don't have a lot of so you need 23, I think it's like 23 or 26 markers to be able to do the SDR and to enter that into CODIS. So if the markers are 13, so you got to think of your DNA strand, and then you have 13 markers of DNA, depending on where those are, we all share, not like, what is it? We share 99% of our DNA with a banana. So if you see what I'm saying there. So depending on what markers they have, you could still have a suspects that you can't exclude. But all of our DNA is definitely unique to each person unless you are a twin. And even twins, DNA differs once you get into the epigenetics of genetics, human genetics. But I think this would be fantastic to use on that, just from what I have learned from talking with Tom. He's a great guy. He's always been willing to talk to many of us. I think you talked to him as well. And knowing that there has been a lot of contention and a lot of articles over the years about backlogs at the state crime lab. And this technology can literally speed up those backlogs and solve so many cases, along with forensic genetic genealogy, all of these things. And it is just so, it's like waiting on, like we want it right now. And it just,
You got to get someone's attention.
But then again, you have that other side of this case, as where in murder data, always go back to that, it says that this case is solved. And a lot of times when I talked to Thomas Gargrove, he told me flat out, like, there are cases in here that are solved, but they're not solved in the public's eye because and if you think back, there is a grand jury that was impaneled, and the grand, depending on what the grand jury does and the prosecutor does, the law enforcement can only go so far. So they've done their investigation, and if the prosecutor doesn't feel like they've got enough to prosecute the case, then it's dead in the water right there. I think they should go ahead and try it. I think so too. I really do, because otherwise, why in the world would they not jump on a free genetic, the genealogy? Like that, it makes zero sense to me why the crime lab would not get their shit together and the investigative teams work together to make that happen. I mean, that was a big deal, and some big heavy hitters. Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick was one of the top in the field. And to have her calling them and asking them, please allow us to do this, and them dragging their feet to the point of now it's too late. It's upsetting. But it could be telling. because they know that they don't need that. They know who the killer is. If say this is the hypothesis, say they do know who the killer is and they don't need that, but there's something about the where it was found, or there is a reasonable doubt as to how that DNA sample got onto said material. Well, I have my rope out in the neighborhood all the time. Well, I mean, I'm the maintenance man. I have all the big trash bags. Someone took my trash bag. Someone must have
Right.
came to my house and, stole my stuff, or just like those types of things, to where you can't say for certain. So with DNA, say it's in her underwear. Well, then there's your killer. It's underneath blood of the victim. Well, there's your killer. But what people don't realize is like touch DNA. I mean, you could have tons of profiles. You've got your family, your friends, how many places she went that day. I mean, she was all over that neighborhood. So she's collecting DNA on her all day long, and so it could be something as simple as that, is that they just don't have that one piece of, maybe, I don't know. It's sad.
And that's why the one who did it probably stays quiet, because he knows that they know, and so he's not going to say anything to dig himself any deeper.
Right. Yeah, it's sad. And again, there are so many like suspects that it's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten calls from people and they are convinced that it is someone that they know. And when they tell me how horrendous the person is that they know and what they've done to another child or themselves, I'm just like, oh my, it has to be, and you're just like, how in the world did all of these psychos end up in Prattville in the same neighborhood,
in that park,
in this same park? Like, it is insane.
Seems to be the case, though.
Yeah.
The more that we look at the names of the people and the interactions, I think the other part of this is there's people around that know who did it, or they think they know who did it. I mean, for real, and they're not saying anything. Those are the people that need to come forward.
Yeah, those are the people that,
yeah,
like, they could be the hero.
Yeah.
And yet they choose not to be. And I know that me and you talked about it on the podcast of like, maybe they just have heard an excuse that they want to believe of, it was an accident. I'll never, ever do it again. Like, I lost my temper and I hit her and she died and I just panicked. And no, that's not what happened to Shannon. That's not what happened to her at all. She was tortured and killed and dumped like trash. Like, let's be honest. And that's why it's important to share those details, because it's hard to hear. And I'm sure it's hard for the family to hear. But I think that person out there that knows, they probably just think that it was a one-time thing and they'll never do it again. And then what if like hearing this information changes their mind of like, oh my gosh, like, this wasn't what you said. You lied. And I'm going to tell them now.
Also, even if they did believe that story, that one time is enough. I mean, to protect that person from doing it, Shannon didn't get to live. So, whoever did this has to be held accountable, because she didn't get that chance.
No, she sure didn't.
Yeah.
And it's
so
so
if you're
sad.
protecting somebody, then you need to stop. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. How many suspects has her blood in the home? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was something that you can hear on the podcast. I think Aunt Tammy mentions it, as how they did find blood in Shannon's blood in Ty Foster's home. and it was from a bloody nose. And Marie, Shannon's mother, did confirm that she did get bloody noses. So again, plausible
Yeah.
deniability.
That's what happens when it goes to court. You know, and when it gets in court, then they won't, you know,
Yeah.
they can fight that or
Well,
counter
I'm
that.
glad that a lot of the members of the group weren't able to make it tonight. Hopefully they can catch the replay. Everybody that's been commenting are people that are here every night.
Yeah.
So every time I go live. So that's sad.
We put the word out. Yeah. We
did.
tried to promote it.
We tried.
But like you said,
I
it'll
don't
be
know how
out here
that's
for
all-
look at.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll
Sometimes
be
it's
able
easier to look at things later if you're not available to watch live.
Right. But we just wanted to do this because it is the 21st year anniversary, and it's for both of us. Like, Wes was the one that told me about this case, and as soon as I saw her, she looks like my sister, and so I could just imagine myself in Lisa and Tiffany's shoes, and like, if I can help them in any way, then I should do that, and I did. And I'm glad that I did. And people ask, like, what are the cases that you want solved? And it's Shannon Paulk, and then obviously the Delphi murders, like those are my top.
Yeah.
But Shannon,
thank you for getting involved in this one, because we didn't really have much of anything, and when you came down and we've come a long way as far as what we know and the awareness that everyone has now. So
yes,
I think as long as we can keep that going, maybe one day there'll be a break.
Did you ever hear back from the prosecutor's office? Didn't you call them or email them?
I did, but I haven't heard back. As far as what I'd like to see is some kind of an update. If they want to just give the family an update of some kind of official meeting or something where they can get together and tell them in an official way what they have, because I don't think we've really had that. Even last year when we did the vigil, CJ Robinson, the assistant DA, he was going to come, and then at the last minute he said he had something, he couldn't come, but he sent somebody in his place who was someone who didn't know quite as much about the case as he did, which was okay, but we didn't get the words from him
right.
that could have been helpful. But so that's the kind of thing I'm looking at.
I see this happening a lot, and it always it hurts my heart, because now I'm like kind of jaded. But if you remember back at the 2020 vigil that we had, they were like, we've got some things coming in and new information, and things are moving, and then it's 2 years go by.
They told me that last year too when I sat down at the mayor's office and the Parks and Rec person talking about the site, and he said specifically, we actually have some things going on with it right now. He didn't have to say that, but he went out of his way to say that, and so did
Yep.
I think it was CJ Robinson said it as well. So I don't know what those things are. If they just say that to kind of get through the conversation that they're having with me or whatever, but I haven't seen any follow through on it.
Whew.
Just a little side story. I think I told you the other night, which I thought was somewhat amusing after the fact. In 2020, when you were there, we did we sent lit up the lanterns and floated those up in the sky and played the song. And we did the same thing last year. And of course, like I said, I went to the mayor's office, and I got the approvals through the Parks and Rec to do all the stuff. I told them exactly what we were doing. And so we lit up the lanterns. Are they called Chinese lanterns? Is that what they're called? And then they go up and so there's a nice picture in the paper that came out, or in the local news, and it was former Mayor Byard, who was the mayor when Shannon was killed, and Tom Allen, the lead detective, they're working on, setting one off. They have the lantern in their hands and they're lighting it and sending it up in the sky. And Tom called me or messaged me, later that week and said, "You got a minute?" And so I called him, and I was hopeful that it was going to be something, like about the case, but he said that the fire marshal ran him down the hallway and scolded him for lighting those things off because he was telling them they were illegal.
Illegal.
And I said, "Well," I said, "I got him checked out, but it's just funny that they had him. It was a great picture too."
The ironies. Oh man,
Yeah.
that's cute. I'm glad that they came though. I think that
he cares. He definitely cares. Yeah.
Oh, the mayor definitely does for sure. Like you can tell, like he's a sweet man.
Mayor Byer. Well, both. The mayor that's Gillespie, who's there now.
Uh-oh.
Mayor Byer actually, he cares.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. Gillespie, is that how you say it? Or Gillespie?
Yeah, Gillespie. Yeah.
Gillespie, he had to put up with a lot of my crap. Bringing things on him. He's like in the middle of COVID, and here we're having like this big old to do. He was like, I thought last year, like lighting some candles. No, we had a full blown concert.
Yeah, he had no choice at that point. He couldn't pull the plug on it. But
there was like how many media like cameras were there? Like news stations.
There was a lot that day. Yeah,
there was at least 3 that I remember. But yeah,
that's why last year I made an appointment and sat down with them and went over everything with them, so they couldn't say anything later.
Right?
But they were surprised.
Yeah, but I wish that we were able to do that every year. But it's being in Indiana and just the expense of it, and not just for me, but for the family. I think it just gets to the point where it's probably disheartening for them, year after year after year of just
keep hoping that something's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's the best thing we can do. Hi, Ashley. But yeah, does anybody have any questions for us? Oh, Georgia, yes. There's been Wesley knows of a few. There was one he was telling me about that happened right at that bridge that he showed earlier. I have to run to the bathroom, so I will be right back. Can you hold down the show?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll just mention the case you're just referring to. I think was Tasha Reese. Yes. Is that what you're? Okay. And
yeah.
And in 1989, here in Prattville, there was a young girl who was she went to Prattville High School, 16 years old, and it was Friday night, and she was on her way to the football game, and the football game was in the stadium, which a couple blocks from her home. And so she was going to walk with her friends to the game. And so the idea was she was going to meet up with one of her friends at their house, the friend's house, and then walk down. And so she never made it to her friend's house. And then her grandmother didn't really realize she thought she was at the game, didn't realize till later that night that she wasn't coming home. And so the friends at the game that they were going to meet said that she never came to the game either. So a few days later, they found her in the river right under that bridge that I had showed you earlier that was just below the trailer park there. And that case has never been solved. And that, we talk about this case as being, a cold case that didn't get a lot of attention. This case, and it's Tasha Reese is the name, in 1989. And this case has absolutely no attention. And so I've got a Facebook group on it with a couple hundred people in it. And that's my idea, is to just keep the awareness going, and hopefully that'll bring changes and get people talking about it and make things happen. Very little is known about it, so It's right here in town. And there's another case in Montgomery, a similar type of a case. Wendy Bishop, another local from 1993 that was called on the telephone and went to meet her friend at the grocery store, which was near their house. So she went up there to meet the friends and was never seen again. And so nothing is known about that case either. Lots of theories, but and these are obscure cases. Some people didn't even realize they were sitting right here in town, and people don't know about them, which is kind of sad. We also, we talk about other cases that could be connected. There's an interesting connection with those of you who are familiar with the murder at Land Between the Lakes up there in Georgia. The chief or the prime suspect in that case, Greg Charlton, I believe is his name, came to Prattville right after he left town as the main suspect in that double murder down there in, I guess it was Tennessee, and came to Prattville in the late 80s and it's been here the whole time. And so he actually knew a couple people in Candlestick Trailer Park, or had a friend or two in there. So it's highly possible he could have even been in the park. So that's another interesting thing.
Yeah. Let me the Mary Storm Uncovered. I've been checking you out. So thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much. But yeah, did you talk about Peggy Chappelle, which I just did that episode on her?
No, actually, yeah, there was, when you think about it, there's so many of them, I talked about Wendy Bishop just for a minute. And, but yeah, the Peggy Chappelle that one that kind of makes me angry because her mom knows who did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
and
mean?
Teresa Dean, her body has never been found. Heaven Lachey Ross.
Yep. Those are the ones that are connected.
Tabitha. Yep.
Yeah.
What was her last name? Tabitha Tudors. Tabitha Tudors.
Yeah.
Those were ones that they actually did meet on those. So Shannon Paulk, Tabitha Tudors, Teresa Dean, and Heaven Lachey Ross, they actually met. The task force met and discussed those cases because they were so similar. And I look at the Haley Cummings case too, because even though it was like with her mother, they've never been found, and it's close, it's nearby. I mean, there's quite a lot. It's kind of scary. And if you think about the way that Shannon was killed, yeah, you gotta think like that's not just a one time,
Right.
I don't know. And there's
it's hard to imagine that being the one and only time that person did this,
Yeah. But yeah, I started with Peggy Chappelle, and then Shannon Paulk is tonight. And then I'm going to do Heaven Lachey Ross, Teresa Dean, and Tabitha Tudors as well. And then maybe we can have like another discussion after those are done. And then we can really discuss like what we think of, like, is there a possibility, and where the cases stand now as far as any connections. Because if you think about it, like the bridges, there was construction work being done in Prattville. There was construction work being done at the other ones as well. And so it's kind of, you kind of got to wonder if you got a drifter that is just a working construction and comes and goes. Or they were also trailer parks as well. They were all trailer parks. So a lot of those, are they owned by the same companies? Are the companies that are making the trailers the same companies that are sending out the workers to work on it? Oh my goodness, I have to do something really quick. Oh my daughter is going to be so upset. Hold on. Wait. I think I might be early. We have a flight, so it's Southwest. We're flying out tomorrow, and you got to check in, or you're in the bad seats. So I got to see if I can check in. I hope it's not too late. I think I'm early. Actually, I think I remembered early because your reminder went off.
It shouldn't be too late.
I don't think I can now. Okay. 10:05. I've got to be doing that at 10:05. So I've got a little bit.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, we've got a 10:05 flight. So be getting there. Well, but Colorado, it's 2 hours behind us. So we get there like an hour after we leave, which it's not really like we get there and it's like we haven't even been anywhere because of the time change. So we get there at 10. But coming home, it's our flight leaves at like 10 and we get home at 1:30 a.m. here. So that kind of stinks.
If you take the 1 hour flight from Atlanta to Montgomery, then you get to Montgomery, like a minute after you left Atlanta, something like that.
Yeah. It's pretty
1 minute's going by.
It's kind of crazy. But yeah, Georgia, it really is. It's crazy that all those cases I just named are not solved. It's unbelievable,
Yeah.
especially with all of the advancements in the technology that these cold cases are not getting that done is just wrong.
I believe, like you said earlier, when there's complications like you were talking about earlier with the actual DNA and whether they can make it work or not I think is what the problems are. Because there are some cases which are really straightforward, and we hear about those when they get these guys years later, and they know exactly who did it and they go straight to them. There must be things there's something about the evidence or the way they have it where they can't figure out they can't get it to work as far as, they might not win the case.
Right. Yeah. It's sad. But I wanted to, before we go tonight, I saw that there were some super chats. Hopefully I can still pull those up and thank everyone. Professor Pug, Mel will never ask, but I will. Let's send a little love so she can continue researching criminals. Any little bit helps. Well, thank you, Professor Pug. And Daisy, thank you. Hit the like. Yes, please hit the like. It does help. Lipsha. Hi, Lips. How are you? She sent a super sticker. And Aspen. Pug, I couldn't agree more. We need as many people as possible on YouTube with even a fraction of Mel's heart and dedication. Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. So yeah, I appreciate you guys and for everyone being here tonight. It means a lot. A lot of members are here. Chaotic Beauty and Crime, Monica. I saw Beholder here earlier, and Who's Your Cold Cases? Westmeister.
Thanks for letting me come in to your conversation.
Oh, no, thank you. Like we've done a lot of this together, so it's only fitting that we continue. Professor Pug. So yeah, I appreciate each and every one of you. And my back is really starting to act up. I really hope this kidney stone is a small one and it passes by tomorrow's flight, because that would probably be a no-go. I think it's a small one though. I can usually tell. So it's usually like a night of being awake all night and rolling around on the floor, and then it'll pass, and then I'm fine. It happens so much. It's just like I can't stop my life, or it'd just be on pause all the time. So, hopefully it
Yeah.
didn't. I feel like I've been able to hide it pretty well tonight. It's starting to, I'm not going to be able to hide it for very much longer, though. So, all right. Well, I think we're going to sign off. And again, thank you guys for being here and sticking with us. And I hope you enjoyed this episode in honor of Shannon Nicole Paulk. And Wes, again, thank you so much for being here with me to do this. I really appreciate you and all you've done and continue to do. And with that,
I
everybody,
enjoyed it.
well, good. Do you have any last words you'd like to say?
Again, just thanks for letting me come on in and talk about it, and thanks for everything you've done for the case and for all these cases. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty dedicated, So.
Yeah, it's an OCD, You got, once I get it in my head, it's there to leave. So
Yeah.
I've got to do something with that or I'll go insane, I'm pretty sure. So, all right, everybody. I hope you have a great night. And thank you all for being here, and you have a good one. And on a side note, I will be gone. I won't be on this weekend at all. And I'll probably be signing out of Facebook and Messenger and not answering emails because I'm going to be with my family. So don't worry. I'm fine, but yeah, I don't want to worry anyone, but I'm not going to be answering anyone this week. So, but Chris, again, if you're out there, we love you, buddy. And we hope you're doing okay. And I hope you had a good break and you're going to be back really, really soon. So we miss you. Okay. With that, I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one.